Senior Connections, a show about senior issues and events. A guide to active, independent living. Senior Connections, with your hosts, Margie Toms and Janet Halliday.
Good afternoon and welcome to Senior Connections. I'm Margie Wimberly Toms.
And I'm Janet Halliday. Today we're talking about an ombudsman and their role in the long-term care process. Our guest today is Shirley Thomas, and now you're going to tell me you are the long-term care ombudsman, but you are also an investigator, right?
That is correct.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Now, and you work in what, Richland?
My jurisdiction is with Richland, Lexington, Fairfield, and Newberry counties.
Okay, and how many ombudsmen work in that area? Is it just you, or there are more? Three of you.
Three.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us what an ombudsman is, Shirley, okay? Let our audience know.
An ombudsman is an advocate and an investigator for those who do not have voices in long-term care facilities.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
clarify what you mean when you say long-term care facilities. Does that include adult daycares?
No.
Okay, and then assisted living?
Assisted living, nursing homes, DMH, DDSN facilities that are licensed by the Department of Health and Environmental Control, Health Licensing Unit.
Okay. And how are you different then from DHEC? Because a lot of people think that DHEC does all the investigations.
DHEC also does investigations, but theirs are more so on a regulatory issue. We investigate abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Underneath the South Carolina Omnibus Adult Protection Act, it gives us the right to investigate abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Under the Federal Older Americans Act, we have the right to advocate for residents in long-term care facilities and to enforce the residents' rights.
Okay. Tell us how your agency works. Is it something that you do periodic visits, or do people notify you that they need your services? How does that work, Shirley?
We do periodically visits, which we call friendly visits.
I see.
We also do we are called. However, underneath South Carolina law, anything that occurs in a long-term care facility that is considered abuse, neglect, or exploitation must be reported to our office by the facility.
Now, so you work with employees that are working in the facilities?
That is correct.
As well as family members and the patients themselves?
Right. The resident themselves is my client.
Yes.
Even though the family member might have reported a concern, that might not be a concern that the resident has. When I get there and I speak with the resident, that's not a concern that they have whatsoever. In fact, they might have other concerns that the family member knows nothing about. And I would have to investigate according to the resident, because the resident is my client.
And before we're going to get into some some specific details here, but before we move any farther, I want to make sure that the audience knows that you have counterparts in other parts of the state.
That is correct. There are 10 regions in this in the state, and each region takes care of different counties within their own regions.
And that would be through the Council of Governments, right?
Not all are located at the Council of Governments. What has occurred is that we have a contract with the Lieutenant Governor's Office on Aging to provide these services. And some of them are located within Council of Governments, some of them are not. They're just they're standalone area agencies on aging.
When there is a problem that's identified, you folks have to carry it all the way through and come up with a solution to the problem? Is that how does that work?
Yes. What we do is what we call a finding. And a finding is a written category of all the facts. Nothing but the facts. Not what I believe occurred, not what I think occurred, it has to be factual, and it's called a finding, and we substantiate whether or not this occurred, this concern did or did not occur, and does it meet the definition of the abuse, neglect, psychological abuse, exploitation.
Now, do you also work with like police and SLED?
We work, SLED has their own behavioral unit that investigates concerns in DMH and DDSN facilities. Okay, we do work with local law enforcement because a lot of times the abuse could meet the level of criminal activities.
Now, well, I'm getting that signal, so we're going to take our first time out. And one of the nicest things that you can do for your family, if you haven't planned already, consider doing a funeral arrangement and give Greg Mosley a call with Cornegay and Mosley, and he'd be happy to talk to you, and we'll be right back.
Senior Connections, brought to you by our premier senior providers, offering exceptional services for older adults. Our premier senior providers include Comfort Keepers of Columbia, comforting solutions for in-home care. Anesthesiology Consultants, board-certified anesthesiologists with over 400 years of combined anesthesia experience, serving these fine institutions throughout the Midlands for over 25 years. Cornegay and Mosley Funeral Home and Cremation Services, our family serving your family since 1884. Hall Tax and Planning, helping you work towards a worry-free retirement.
Welcome back again to Senior Connections. We are talking about long-term care, nursing home, etc. And our guest, Shirley, is the ombudsman that takes care of all the problems that occur.
Now, I don't know about all that.
Well, one of the things that you alluded to when we first introduced you was the fact that you were responsible for seeing to it that patients had their rights protected.
That is correct.
And and every facility has a patient rights bill. Is that correct?
That is a law. That is not that they have that. Just because you move into a facility does not mean that you lose your rights that you have as a citizen of this country. However, our legislator and the United States government took it a step farther in developing a law, the Residents' Bill of Rights.
Yes, right.
And there are several rights that residents and facilities must protect. Residents have rights to be treated with respect and dignity, to have their own mail, visitors, to know what we're paying for, to request and receive information, practice religion, meet.
Yes.
Those are just a few of the rights that I have.
Now, that gets me to my first one, the right. Now, I know that some facilities contract with certain like home care agencies or certain hospice, and maybe you have a hospice that you've been using, and that's not one of them. Do you have the right to continue with that hospice?
Yes, I do. Just because you might have a contract with that hospice, okay, does not mean that you cannot develop a contract with the one I want. I have the right to utilize whoever I want to, especially an assisted living facility.
Because this is a big issue here. I've heard people say, well, if I move into this facility, I can only use these two hospice agencies. I'm not allowed to use the one that I maybe am using, or maybe I want to use.
You also have to look at the contract before you sign that.
Okay.
Now, if you sign that contract and agreeing to only use those two hospices, okay, then you have a binding agreement. However, you need to read your contracts, and you can say, well, I don't want to use this hospice because you do have the right to use whatever facilities, doctors, pharmacy.
You're saying your own pharmacy, your
That
own
is correct.
physician, and so that needs to be spelled out in the
Within
contract.
your contract. Now, if you're looking at a nursing home, okay, it's it's entirely different because according to regulations, that doctor has to come to that
Yes.
facility so often. Most doctors are not willing to come to that facility. Now, you can go out and see that particular doctor, but that contract that you signed with the nursing home, you have agreed to utilize that medical director. So if I went outside and saw Dr. Smith,
Yeah.
but Dr. Jones is the medical director
Yes.
of that particular facility, Dr. Smith might have said, I want her to take XYZ.
Sure.
But Dr. Jones, being your primary physician, has the right to change those orders. And the facility has
Interesting.
to obey by the orders of Dr. Jones and not Dr. Smith, the outside physician.
So each facility has their own physician
Each
that's
facility,
in charge of
right,
all the
their
all the
own
clients.
medical director and their own physicians, because regulations clearly state that physician must come to that facility and be available.
Now that you're
for that
talking,
facility.
you're talking primarily here about
Nursing homes.
That
Right.
does,
There are
that's not-
different regulations.
Right.
We got whether or not you're in a nursing home or
Yes.
in an assisted living.
There are different regulations?
Right. Different regulations. Nursing homes regulations also go by your payment source. If you pay by Medicare and Medicaid,
Yes.
then CMS has regulations. They're about that thick or more that the facility must obey by. Okay?
yeah.
Now, if you're private pay, then the Department of Health and Human Services health regulations determine what regulations you go by. Okay? If you are assisted living or community residential care facilities, then those are the regulations that are determined by, again, DHEC health regulations as to what regulations that you must abide by.
Well, and we were talking between segments about the nursing part of it. In assisted living, you were saying that nurses are used as a marketing tool.
There is no regulations that says that you must have a nurse on duty.
Okay, and we'll come back to that after this break. And if you need estate planning or assistance with your taxes, give Hall Estate and Tax Planning a call, and Roger Hall will be happy to meet with you.
Today we're going to discuss walkers. Now, choosing the right walker is important. Sometimes during discharge, a lot of hospitals give what they call the traditional walker, or your doctor may order you a traditional walker with 2 wheels. A traditional walker looks like this, and you're probably familiar with it. It pulls out and allows you to have the ability to step inside the walker. Of course, it is adjustable so that you can pull it to the certain height that the patient is. Again, you want to make sure that it's a good height for you, and you want to have it about a 45-degree angle from your hips, and the ability that you can walk inside of it as you're walking. Now, a traditional walker comes with 2 wheels and little gliders on the bottom. These are not brakes, they're just little pushies that help you to push it back in, so when you're ready to store it, you can put it away. They make other walkers out there that are good as well, and that give you the ability to have comfort and convenience. Now, one of the things that's new out on the market is called the Metro Walker. It's almost the size of an umbrella. Very quick and convenient to get in and out of a car. And it's also very quick and convenient to push out and to move forward. It adjusts as well. It has smaller wheels and has the little glider tips as well. And it actually uses the pressure of your palms to stop it whenever you need to. The Metro Walker is a great assessment, so if you're going on a trip or traveling light, you may want to consider one of these. Other walkers that are available are what they call the traditional rollator walkers. Now, the rollator walkers can be covered under insurance as well. They cover basically a walker with 2 wheels and a seat attachment, and that's how it's covered. They come in 2 different styles. You have a regular walker, which is for patients 5'4" and above, or a junior walker, which is for patients 5'4" and below. They come with what they call brake assessments, and they actually pull down in order to stop it. It's not a true braking system, but it does allow you to have some stability, especially when you want to turn around and sit down in your walker. And it also has the curved back, or they can have a straight back. There are a variety of different styles. They're very easy to get in and out of the car. You pull up and you set inside. They also come with an attachment, such as this basket. Some of them come with vinyl baskets underneath. So the rollator walkers are a good walker that you could use for travel purposes as well. A new Canadian style walker is called the Excursion. Now I love this walker. Not only is it in Gamecock colors, but it also gives you the ability to pull up, and it's lighter. It's 19 pounds, so you can store it very easily. It has the larger wheels, gives you better stability, especially if you're walking on gravel or maybe a dirt road or out in the garden or something like that. Gives you strong stability. And the back is curved. A lot better ergonomical function than some of the traditional ones. This allows you to really sit down and have that support to your back whenever you need to sit down. And of course, it has really lighted handles that are real soft and comfortable, and of course the braking system that pushes down to allow you to sit down. So for more information about walkers and a wide selection, come see me, Sean Owen, at MedPoints Medical Specialties, 728-0122.
How have these homeowners achieved greater financial flexibility? With a reverse mortgage from a trusted source, MetLife Bank. If you're a homeowner age 62 or older, a reverse mortgage could make a difference in your life too.
It is the best thing we've ever done. I am so relieved.
It really lets me sleep at night.
Why not learn the facts today from a MetLife Bank reverse mortgage consultant? There's no obligation.
Welcome back to Senior Connections. We are continuing with our guest talking about long-term nursing. Shirley, what I needed to know now, if you have to see, sometimes depending on what the environment is, and you have someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's, do you hear then because you can't make direct contact with the patient, do
Yes,
you
I
hear,
can.
even though they may have
There's
dementia
always-
or Alzheimer's, how does that work? I'll let
There's
you tell
always
me.
a window of opportunity sometimes, okay? People with Alzheimer's and dementia can sometimes be interviewed, and you just have to listen carefully to what they have to say a lot of times. And sometimes it's just like they know exactly what you want to say. For instance, I had a case where a particular person was treating this resident very meanly. And she had dementia. Usually she did not interview, she did not talk. But I guess she had gotten fed up with this situation, that she was able, and she continued to say what that particular staff member had did to her.
Is that
and
right?
was able to repeatedly over a period of time.
Well, and there's something else that I want to get clarified for the audience is, we had talked about capacity versus competency.
That is
because
correct.
one of the responsibilities I know as an ombudsman is that you do a lot with advanced directives
That is correct.
and healthcare powers of attorney and that sort of thing. So kind of tell us about power of attorney and when it's appropriate, and the difference between the capacity and competency.
Power of attorney usually comes in 3 different forms. Just a general power of attorney, a doable power of attorney, and a springing power of attorney. Usually power of attorney gives an individual or more than one individual the right to make financial decisions when I'm no longer able to.
Yes.
Okay? And it can be revoked at any time. However, in the state of South Carolina, I am considered competent unless I have been adjudicated incompetent by the probate court. Okay? So I still have all my rights. I don't care
Yes.
if the doctor has said, a lot of times you'll see doctor says cannot make healthcare decisions.
Right.
They say I do not have the capacity to make healthcare decisions at that particular time. I've had residents to challenge that because at the time, most of the times when we go into a facility, we just came from a hospital, we've had a traumatic event, an illness, we're on different types of medications that we have not gotten adjusted to. After we've been in the facility for a while, things seem to level out. We do get a lot of our mental faculties back. At that particular time, I am able to make those healthcare decisions. They run different tests and then they see that I do have the capacity to make those decisions, and that is taken off my record.
Well, and I had told you about a situation where I was employed at a facility and got written up for supplying a lady who had dementia some telephone numbers that she requested. But they have that right.
We have the right to request and receive information. Just because I have a diagnosis of dementia is a progressive disease, same as Parkinson's or mental illness.
Yes.
It is a disease. It does not mean that I am out of my mind 24/7. There are windows of opportunities. Therefore, a lot of times lawyers come into facilities within that window of opportunity and have me to sign different legal documents.
And we're going to take another break right now. But if you're looking for home care, and also they have medical equipment that might help you stay in your home, give Bill Johnson a call with Comfort Keepers and he'd be happy to talk with you.
Senior Connections, brought to you by our premier senior providers, offering exceptional services for older adults. Our premier senior providers include Senior Living Guide, serving the Midlands for more than a decade. Life Care Center of Columbia, doing whatever it takes and then some. Brookdale Senior Living, providing exceptional senior living for over 30 years. Aging Gracefully, a senior living consulting service.
Welcome back to Senior Connections. We are discussing with our guests about the Ombudsman in long-term care nursing. One question I just want to ask you, Shirley, in reference to some of your clients that you do see, because you do make visits, and sometimes they want to talk to you directly to let you know what's going on, that maybe their families are not giving as they're supposed to, taking care of them properly. There's something there that they want to discuss with you. How does that go?
Well, usually I get permission from them to contact their families. And we can either set up a family meeting there with the resident if they're in agreement, or a lot of times they'll just ask me to get on the phone and call. And usually it's about a money situation. I've had residents who thought they couldn't afford different places and found out that they were millionaires. I've had residents who
That'd be pleasant.
cannot go from saving mode to spending mode. And then I've also had residents whose families were taking advantage of their money, and so we have to look at what's going on, and we do work with the Attorney General's office, especially when it comes to exploitation.
Now, you had said that you've been doing this for 15 years, correct?
Yes.
And what kind of background did you have to get into this role?
I am a licensed social worker. Okay. And before I did this, I did investigations with Child Protective Services.
And just real quickly, now, If you're in a facility and you're being discharged for a reason, maybe you're a harm to others or such, whatever the case, they have to give you a 30-day written notice. Is that correct?
Not if I'm a danger to myself and others.
Okay. All right.
Okay. If I'm
That's
a danger to
different.
myself and others, I'm not going to keep you around for 30 days being a danger there, because I have to protect the other residents. That is grounds for immediate discharge.
Okay.
Now, if I don't pay my bill, if I become well, or I no longer meet level of care, then they have to give me a 30-day discharge notice before they can discharge me. And they also must help my family find another place for me to go.
Oh, and that's another thing I know we're not going to have time for today, but level of care. We were talking earlier about folks that are staying in, particularly assisted living or community
Residential care.
that probably should be moving on to the
nursing
next
home.
level of care. But now with this hospice issue, I know a lot of the assisted living are saying, well, this is their home and they can stay here until the end.
Not necessarily. They still have to meet the level of care. Even with the hospice, they can get a write-off from DHAC, but that's only 30 days. If they meet the level of care for nursing home, they need to move to a nursing home. You cannot possibly provide the same level of care of a nursing home that can be provided in assisted living.
That makes sense. Because then when they get to that point where they need invasive care, then it's time to move them on out to a nursing home.
Assisted livings cannot do sliding scales.
Yes.
For diabetes, they cannot do IVs. These are some of the things that can be done in a nursing home that cannot be done at assisted living.
And thank you so much. It was a pleasure. We need to have you come on and talk some more about all these rights.
Absolutely, Shirley. It was just so
And
nice.
if you would like to get a copy of the areas, the agencies where you can find an ombudsman, or a list of patient rights, you can go on to our website and we'll make sure that you get a copy of that. Please pick up your copy of Senior Living Guide. It is now gone to a statewide publication, and we have a list of all of our sponsors. We cannot do the show without them, and if you have need for their services, please give them a call. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes. Thank you. And we'll see you next week, and everyone be blessed.
For more information on the topics discussed on today's show, to learn about upcoming senior events and support groups in the Midlands, or to submit a question, go to seniorconnectionssc.com. You can also call us at 803-739-4205.
Senior Connections, brought to you by our premier senior providers, offering exceptional services for older adults. Our premier senior providers include Hall Tax and Planning, helping you work towards a worry-free retirement.
How have these homeowners achieved greater financial flexibility? With a reverse mortgage from a trusted source, MetLife Bank. If you're a homeowner age 62 or older, a reverse mortgage could make a difference in your life too.
It is the best thing we've ever done. I am so relieved.
It really lets me sleep at night.
Why not learn the facts today from a MetLife Bank reverse mortgage consultant? There's no obligation.